In the book of Genesis, the second chapter, starting with verse 15 through 17, we have the account of Adam being formed out of the dust of the ground, God breathing into his nostrils, making him a living soul, and then God taking him from where he was outside of the garden and places him inside the Garden of Eden that God had just made. God makes his garden in front of Adam, so Adam knows that God is the creator. But there's no doubt about this. After he creates this garden, he gives Adam a specific command. He says, Adam, everything in the garden you can freely eat. There's no limit to what you can have. But do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For the day you eat of this, there will be death. In our English, it says surely die. You would surely die. But when you go to the Hebrew, you will find out that's not what this says. It's not. Because the word for surely die, they're the same words, death. So when God says you shall surely die, that's the English version, it's death twice. That's what it says. But in the Hebrew, it's moth, and then the second word is tamoth. The only difference between these two words is that the second word has a tav at the beginning. And many of you, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that a tav is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And in Hebrew, all letters have a meaning. They do. A tav represents a covenant. That's what it's getting at. But its symbol is the cross. It is. So between these two words for death is the cross. So you have death, the cross, and then death. When God tells him this, Adam understands what God is saying. Don't eat of this tree. Now, this is the point where you have a lot of people say that God is a liar and all this other stuff, because Adam didn't surely die on this day. The day that Adam eats of this fruit, God comes around, and Adam is hiding, and he's scared. And God says, have you eaten of this tree? It's all this. And God punishes Adam, he punishes Eve, and he punishes Satan. But there's something that God does on behalf of humanity. It is. God covers the shame of Adam with a sacrifice. In Genesis 3, you find out that God kills an animal, and he makes tunics of skin for Adam and Eve. That's what this is. So what does this have to do with the cross? It doesn't make any sense, because God says to Adam face to face, the day that you eat this, there will be death. It doesn't mean surely die, but that's what everybody believes. When Jesus dies on the cross, he satisfies the very thing he says in the beginning. Most of us think this is a knee-jerk reaction by God. I've got to figure out a way to save man. It's not. When you look at how the surely die is represented by death, the cross, and death, you'll see that before the cross, everything is covered by the cross. And then after the cross, everything is covered by the cross. When Adam sinned, it started the countdown to Calvary. That's what happens. See, on the fourth day of creation, God creates the sun, moon, and the stars. He does. And he says this is to separate the day from the night. But then he also says it's for signs and seasons. This is talking about for festivals. The times you're supposed to bring an offering. Even before sin, God had this established. He says it in Genesis 1, dealing with the fourth day. Why does this even matter? If you go forward a couple of thousand years, you'll get to the Passover, where they have to bring in an innocent lamb on the 10th. And on the 14th at evening, you have to kill this innocent lamb and take his blood and put it on the doorposts of your house. And you're supposed to stay behind the blood, because that's what's going to save you. And then also, you're supposed to roast this lamb totally. Not to boil it. You're supposed to roast it. And you're supposed to eat it. When you place the blood on the doorpost, that means you're identifying with God's remedy for sin. That's what that means. Because God has only given you one way for your salvation. There's only one remedy for sin. And that's the shed blood that's on the tav, the doorpost. But if you look forward to the cross, it's the same thing. When Christ gets on the cross, he's getting on the tav. He is there to satisfy the judgment that we have against us. And when we accept Christ and we take communion, we're saying we identify with God's means of salvation. Just like God did with Adam and Eve. He kills a lamb. And he covers them with tunics of skin. Because blood had to be shed. Just like the Passover, Pesach, where they placed the blood of the lamb on the doorpost. That's the same thing that happens at the cross. Jesus satisfies. Genesis 2. By taking on the punishment of the world at the cross.